You really need to narrow down, what are your goals? Where are your goals? What do you want to be known for? What events do you like the most? And really try the hardest to just get into that. And then if you are speaking for free as a showcase, I always tell people this little tidbit, this little tip. Whenever you're doing your program agreement, like if you're like, they say we want you to volunteer your time, still put your speaker fee, like $10,000 on the speaker, but just mark it out and say discounted for this particular industry. So that way, when that meeting professional refers you to someone else, they say, well, their speaker fee is $10,000. They gave us a discount, but that's what their speaker fee is. So that way you don't get caught in this, oh, their speaker fee is free. You don't want to be caught in that arena, because people talk and they will say, oh, we got her for free. You don't want them to say that.
Welcome to the Oshimade Learning Podcast, where genius is celebrated, joy is the catalyst, and we learn most deeply by teaching what lights us up. I'm Parshel Oshimade, executive learning producer, curriculum designer, and former high school math teacher, and lover of all things wisdom.
And I'm Portia Michelle Oshimade, client experience designer, business coach, joy strategist, and a lifelong learner of the sacred and the strategic. Together, we're excavating wisdom from our brightest and most brilliant friends and partners, gaining insight that transform how we learn and how we teach in today's world.
So join us as we offer insights, community wisdom, and unique perspectives on experiential learning. So welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. It's a good morning today. Welcome to the Oshimade Learning Podcast. I am Portia Michelle Oshimade.
I am Parshel Oshimade.
Hello.
Welcome in. How we doing, Parshel? How was your week?
You know, my week has been good overall, and I feel like just still learning, still feeling like I'm catching up a little bit. But to be honest with you, coming off of our summer huddle, which is our business planning weekend that we all in community get together and do. That's always just such a rejuvenating time, and kind of getting back into, you know, what are the things that I need, right, to successfully run this business? What is it that the business needs? What are these areas of business? What do those need? It's just been a good opening, you know, coming into the summer and having that time.
I'm feeling the same. The huddle was so good. For those of y'all who are listening to this, whenever they are listening to this, we're recording this the weekend or the couple days after we did our 2025 summer huddle. And it's like, we get all our business cousins together. We go through each area of business. We make sure that we're not just like forgetting a whole section, you know, because we're going to be running for the summer or getting on a plane every other day, or the kids are home. Oh, it was so good. I'm equally feeling that with you as well, Parshel. Like, it was so good. And like, you know, it's always a little bit more tiring to lead, but I definitely feel like this time around, it was the easiest that we've ever led. And I think that I just love being with our people. I think like I spent so long in entrepreneurship, just me. And maybe me and my clients, or maybe me and my clients, you know, when I got lucky enough to have bigger contracts. But that's not quite the same as, you know, colleagues. It feels like a water cooler. It felt like, you know, we were getting a chance to really hear from each other. And also, like, there were some really good things shared, like resources and what's working right now. We're in a space where I feel like our world is going to get a little bit more complicated before it gets easier. And so having people to bounce things off of was awesome.
Yeah,
for sure.
It really, really was. And then also, too, we got to do a little bit of line dancing also, which I'm actually line danced this morning a little bit just to move my body.
When I tell you, I'm fan ready. I'm fan ready. I've purchased my fan. I've learned the little clicks.
Ready.
Ready.
I'm so feeling you on that. The line dances are everything.
They so were. Something, well, let me ask you, what did you learn this week?
I think that I've mainly learned, I think more on a personal end, that I don't need to have like rigid routines, like the flexibility.
Says the Capricorn.
Like I need a flexible structure, a very bendable structure that, you know, for me and my energy and my genius helps me to show up more into. So I think that's just like a continual learning, just to be flexible and not try to fit myself into something that's so rigid necessarily, but to still have space for life, have space for, you know, the good and everything that's going on.
That makes a lot of sense to me. For a second, I was like, there's a pod person sitting in front of me. This is not my partner. What are you talking about? Now I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yes. Opening up to flexibility in your routines and releasing rigidity. Is that a word? Did I make
Is
that
that
up?
a
We're
word?
here.
Yes, something like that.
We're
Yes.
here.
What
Releasing
are
the
you
rigid.
learning?
Honestly, interestingly enough, I've been in study of our namesake. So this morning I actually have been in study of Oshimare. For those of you all who don't know, Oshimare is the Yoruba word for rainbow, but it is also a deity in Orisha that holds the energy of a variety of things. But this morning, I was in study with Oshimare as being the owner of cycles. And as in the way that it's viewed in Ifa, Oshimare is a circle. It's a circle that surrounds the earth and is representative of the promise that the creator made to not destroy humanity again, because humanity kept doing the things that maybe requires destroying. And as we are in times that I sometimes wonder what it is that we're doing, sometimes I'm like, guys, like, is this how we want to people? Is this how people want to treat each other? Is this how our planet wants to be treated? I am reminded that Oshimare gives us a gift of looking at the fact that we are just in a cycle. And that if we believe in ourselves and we treat each other kindly and we remember what it is to be humans in coalition with the earth and with each other, that we can return to another cycle, just like the circle does, and bring us back to a place of equilibrium. So that is something that I was learning in my devotion this morning with Oshimare.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And you
It's a
sent me a
woo woo
couple.
woo. This is
Yeah,
how you know.
that is beautiful.
Love, love, love. Well, I'm very excited to get into this podcast today. We have our good friend Nona here, Mama Nona in my head, because I promise you, like, I watch a YouTube channel that is about an older Italian couple, and there's a Nono and there's a Nona, and
Yeah.
some calls her Mama and some calls her Nona. And so in my head, every time I see Nona's name come on my calendar, it's Mama Nona. So I'm excited for us to actually get into it with Nona Prather today. Again, like genius when it comes to the business of booking, speaking, and
Yeah.
in general, kind of, the conversation, I think, from the inside of the house, a speaker who books speakers, because I think that that's a very different reality than the other way around. And I'm so excited for us to get into her wisdom today.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. I'm happy to be here. Yeah,
Yay.
I love the name origin conversation. That's neat to know. I like your last name even better now.
Well, thinking we'll talk so much about names today. Who knew today would be the naming day? But more to come in that
Yeah,
department.
yeah, that's fun. Awesome.
I love it. So, Portia, you want to let's open up because I'm excited to
Yeah,
for this conversation. Also, there's of course in my world, I speak to authors and experts all the time who are wanting to get on stages. So, again, the value of the conversation today is going to be amazing. Before I introduce Nona officially, I'm gonna have Portia kind of have some fun, get to know you questions to kick that part off.
Okay.
awesome.
Welcome, Nona. And we will introduce you properly. But I'm always a big believer that your bio tells us what you do in the world, but some rapid fire questions may tell us who you really are. So we have some
Ooh,
interesting rapid fire questions. Get to know you rapid fire questions. They will range in level. We'll start really lightly and get a little bit hotter. They
all
are
right,
rapid fire, so feel free to answer the first thing that pops into your head. You're also
all right.
fully open to say, I'm not answering that. We're here.
Okay, okay.
Full consent. Full consent. We'll start off nice and easy. Because you live in such a gorgeous place, I'm interested to know what's your favorite type of nature?
Oh gosh, yes, the mountains. A lot of people I know, whenever they say, "Oh, my dream vacations go to the beach," not me and my family. We love the mountains. The higher, the better. And the snow. We love to snow ski. We love to hike. So yeah, we now live in the beautiful mountains of Angel Fire, New Mexico, which a lot of people don't realize there are mountains in New Mexico. So I seem to educate quite a few people about that on a daily for I'm on calls. But yeah, it's the end of the Rocky Mountains. And so my house is kind of situated between Eagle Nest Lake and Angel Fire Mountain. And so it's like, it just depends on which way you're looking, if I have a lake house or if I have a mountain house. So it's pretty, I get best of both worlds up here. We're at 8,600 feet. So I love where we live.
And I
Wow.
promise you, we are
Yeah.
coming to visit. You have a
Yep.
mountain lake
Yes.
house. That's magic.
Yes. Yes. Come on out. I love showing people around our area.
I love, love, love that. Okay. Next, currently, what color are you wearing most often and why do you think that is?
I am actually wearing this color green is kind of my favorite, the same as my t-shirt, like a sage green. That was also the color that I had in my wedding when me and my husband got married. Our wedding colors were also sage green as well. And I don't know, I've just always felt like maybe because I'm a Virgo, it's like an earth sign and it's like the earthy color. And it just makes me feel really comfortable in my skin. And I think it kind of brings out my tannish skin that I got from my Native American ancestors. So I don't know. It's just sage green has always been one of my favorite colors. I find it calming. It like reminds me of nature. And of course, we have sage growing all over New Mexico. So I just kind of gravitate toward that. And then my favorite color that I don't wear is turquoise. So I just usually have like little pops of turquoise, but it's kind of a lot if you wear like a whole t-shirt, like a whole outfit in turquoise, but little pops of color like jewelry and stuff. I love that color as well, which is also the color of the cover of my book. I made it turquoise colored.
That's
So
right.
I
yeah.
love this. And it's so funny because I was putting on this yellow dress today and I was trying to find a headband. And I put on this green headband and thought, I've never
And
put
did
these
you
together.
know?
I wonder why. Now I know.
Yes. And
Calling
mustard
it
green,
Nona.
or mustard yellow. I love the mustard yellow color too, especially with like the darker skin colors. It makes
Yep.
it just pop a little
Pops.
more.
Oh
I
yeah.
Yep.
totally agree. Love. Okay. Turning up the heat slightly. What's a movie that you love, but you know everybody else kind of hates?
Well, I don't know if everybody hates it, but I love the movie 50 First Dates. I love that
Oh,
movie.
same.
It's like I just love Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. Like they just have such a good like vibe to the both of them when they work together. So they're like two of my favorite actors. So I've always loved 10 things or not 10 things I hate about you. That's another good one, but from my past. But 50 First Dates, I've always loved that movie, just the whole concept of it and everything. And he tries to win her back all the time. So it's like
Yeah.
romantic, but it's funny. I think hopefully most people like that movie.
Well, it's
I
good.
do.
And that's a good, it's kind of a
Yeah.
cult, it's a cult classic if you like it. If you like, are somebody who roll your eyes at a rom-com, but I love a rom-com,
Oh, I
particularly
love
a
a good rom.
rom-com with Drew Barrymore.
Yes,
I love a
right?
rom-com.
Yeah, she's so good. And Ever After as well, from back in the day, her Cinderella one, that was like my favorite version
Oh
of
yeah.
this and all the Cinderella movies. Hers is my absolute favorite.
Okay, now you didn't set a thing, Nona.
I know.
That was my all-time favorite movie for most
Oh,
of my
really?
life. Yeah, and I
That's
would watch it over and
probably
over again.
me too. Yeah, I need to now that my daughter's older, I need to show it to her because she's never seen it, and I'm pretty sure she'd like it just as much as I do. Because I also showed her. You remember the Secret Garden? Like everybody owned the Secret Garden in the house.
Yes.
Oh, that was my favorite. Like when I was like her age, I would watch The Secret Garden on VHS over and over and over and over.
Right.
So it was
Those
either
are the
that
days when
and
we
then
had it on repeat.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
my
I love
gosh.
those old like classic. Well, they're not old, but '90s classics movies.
Now they're classic because
90s.
we're old. That's what it is.
Me too. These '90s classic movies are pretty amazing. Yeah.
Love. See again, these are the real get to know yous, and I love that we have that in common. I've yet to be. I was so that person. I watched Secret Garden over and over and over again. Ever
Yes.
After was like my comfort movie before I knew what a
Yes.
comfort movie was. Like, ah, that's so good. Okay, great
Absolutely.
questions. In the same kind of childhood vein, since we're here, turning it up slightly, what was
Mhm.
your least favorite haircut as a child and why?
Gosh. Yes. So, okay. That is a funny question because my mom used to get so mad at me because my hair is really thick and it would get really tangled. And my mom, it was like a daily struggle. She'd be like, I'd cry while she brushed my hair. And I was like, it was really long. And so she finally said, I'm so sick of fighting with you about this. I'm just going to cut off your hair. And I said, fine, do it. I want my hair to be cut off. So we cut it off really, really short, like partial short. And I hated it because I got mistaken for a boy so many times because I was like 12. So I got mistaken for a boy and I was like, but I'm a girl because I was kind of a girly girl. So it made me sad. And so I was like, this was the biggest mistake I ever made.
Oh,
I've
Oh,
never had it that short again. Like, nope. I've learned my lesson. I do not look good with short hair.
that's a good one. That's a very, very good story. Okay, hottest of the hot, right? And even this, I feel like we're mild, but as a person who has to go to these all of the time, I am interested to know what is the most irritating part for you of a conference?
Gosh, just when it's disorganized and there's not an agenda. Like I went to one, it was like it, okay. I hope he's not going to watch this, but I went to one and this organizer, it felt like a frat party with him and his boys rather than like an individualized
no.
like speaker training plan because it was a small scale seminar. So there was only like 10 of us there. But most of the people there were his friends. They weren't there as speakers. So there's only like 3 of us that were actually there as speakers. And there was no agenda to it. And he didn't hand out an agenda. And it just felt like it was like a party that we were like in accident. It's like we accidentally stumbled upon it. And it did not feel like well thought out. It was more like him hanging out with his friends, and we were just there to witness him and his friends hanging out and talking. And it was like, I don't know about this. I just don't, anyways, I like a well organized event. I'm a little bit of a let's make a checklist and get that going, and let's have a time when they start, stop, and each individual speaker has a certain number of time to talk, not just get up and talk as much as you feel, and then the next person goes. It was kind of like that, and I was like, I don't like not knowing when they're going to stop and when they're going to start and when the next thing is and when the break is. I like to know those things before I go into an event. So
It
that's
is
kind
a
of my own
thing.
personal nightmare.
I love that you said that also. It reminds me so much, for those of you all who are listening, if you've never read Priya Parker's The Art of Gathering, a wonderful, wonderful book. One of the things that she always talks about is that one of the ways that you can allow people to actually feel safe in a space is expectations. If I have no idea
Yes,
when things are going to start, when they're going to stop, what's going to happen next, and I'm just kind of like in an interesting, if the container is usually structured and it's
yes,
drastically unstructured with no warning as to why or the
yes,
time or the reason, it brings up a lot of unsafety for humans.
it does. Yeah. Because I was like, what time do you want me to speak? Because he hired me to come in and speak. And he's like, well, I don't know, sometime on Sunday. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. Sometime on Sunday. I swear that does not work for me. I need to know 2 p.m.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm loving that and loving that you named that. I also feel like the other thing that's kind of in what you named is like fire hosing for me. It's like the irritating thing of like,
Yes,
I go to a conference and someone is just like inundating me, like pop, 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 pop. I'm like, nowhere to
yeah,
structure it, nowhere to write it down. I don't know when it's going to stop.
yeah,
Just like it could be the best information in the world, but if it's coming to me like a fire hose, it's difficult for me to put my
yes.
brain around what to do next and when to take notes and when to
Oh,
be
I know, right?
engaged.
And then your brain gets overwhelmed. So you didn't end up not remembering it anyway because you're
Anyway,
so
yeah.
overwhelmed. Exactly.
That and that. Well, thank you for being honest with us, Nona. We want to know, as the person who's probably in more conferences a year than me and Parshell combined. So we thought we would.
Truly. Well, let me go ahead and read Nona's bio so you guys get the full on what she's up to in the world. So, Nona is the owner and operator of a booking agency for professional speakers, consultants, and entertainers. She has been working in this space since she was a child. Her father is a well known safety instructor, speaker, and trainer, and she's also the author of 24 Ways to Get Paid to Speak. Her love for helping others grow their business through speaking has become a passion. And on a personal note, she lives in the mountains of New Mexico, as we have discovered, and she's an avid hiker and snow skier.
Yep.
Amazing.
Amazing. It's kind of badass, Nona. Like when you say
Truly.
things, like I imagine you on like the slopes. I'm like, look at Nona.
Tell my daughter that, please. She thinks I'm embarrassing.
How old is she?
She's 12 and a half. She'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
13 in January. So I'm at that embarrassing stage. Like, and I literally, I mean, I ski black. So, like I'm a good skier and I'm
Wow.
pretty active. And for some reason, she just finds me the most embarrassing. She's like, you're like an old lady skier. That's not cool. Like other people would die for a mom like me, but okay.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Isn't that always the thing? Although we were talking to some childhood specialist who was talking about that between the ages of like 12 and 16 or something like that, or maybe even 12 and 18, it's like your human hormones are supposed to think that everything that your parents do is terrible so that you learn
Yes.
new skills.
Yep. Yep. That's so true. And I remember being that age and thinking my parents were the stupidest people on earth, but turns out they're actually very smart people. I just thought they were really dumb.
Isn't that how
And
that
so I
goes?
just hope that we get through that phase of life. And then she comes out the other end going, oh, actually, my mom was pretty cool. And my mom was pretty smart. I hope she comes out the other end thinking that, which I think she will. She'll realize it later in life because I did not realize it until later in life either.
But same,
That part.
same. It was like sitting in therapy, like I had the best parents.
Yeah. Like, oh, why am I complaining? They're not that bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be way worse.
Oh,
Way
absolutely.
worse.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, I will let you all know that one of the reasons I love Nona so much in regards to this particular type of work and where I'm interested for you all to be really leaning in is I think that it's such a unique case to have someone as down to earth, as well versed, and as walked the talk as Nona Prather. Like, truthfully, for me, y'all know, every time we get somebody on this podcast, I will tell you the people who read about it and then the people who be about it. Nona is someone who's out here been being about it for a
Yeah.
really long time. So, and Nona, I'm so interested in getting into your story of like
Yeah.
how we ended up here. Tell us a little bit about kind of, you know, how you ended up here. Tell us about kind of what happened with dad and how
Mhm.
this was our reality.
Yeah. So, like you said, my dad's a professional speaker, but he had a full time job for 20 something years at an electric co op manufacturing plant, kind of, electric utility, whatever. And so he had different individual jobs as safety professionals, and he was really well thought of there. So he started getting asked to speak on his own. So then when I was 8, he came in and was like, I quit my job and I'm going to start being a professional consultant and speaker. And we were, kind of all like, wait, what? Is that even a job? Like, that's not a real job, is it? And he's like, no, I talked to the National Speakers Association. It's a real job. And we're like, okay. So he went through all these classes and stuff on how to learn to do it. And basically the one thing that he learned was, if you want to be successful as a speaker, is you basically have to be on the phone 24/7, because it's all about who you know, who you speak to, how people think about you. And so you just have to be constantly communicating with those individuals and getting them on the phone at the right time. So like I literally remember, like, I helped him with manage his CRM, and like he would do phone call after phone call, and he would say, okay, this person is interested, keep them in my CRM. This person's interested. So he would pay me like a dime for each individual person that I would add to his CRM. And then he would also come home from conferences with like stacks of cards that he had collected. But that's how he became well known, is because he literally spoke to any and everyone that had anything to do with his industry that he was trying to speak in. And he would come home and take those, and then we would fax them and we would mail them information. He would write articles. I can't even tell you how many articles, thousands of articles that he's written and published in different publications. Plus, he's written 12 books. So, like, we had a huge stack of people that every time he came out with a new book, like, we would send out thousands of mailings and things. And so it really was like his job of being a professional speaker was basically me, my brother, my stepmom, like we all worked together as a team to get him into that space where he could become the safety expert. So it was
And
a
what
lot
year
of
was
work.
this? When was
So
this? Like time frame
yeah,
wise?
he started in 1992, and then he got his certified speaking professional in, which is a big deal in NSA if you don't know what a CSP is. So he got that, and I think it was like in 99 or 2000, and that's when he really started becoming an expert around that time. And at that time, when I was a teenager, by then, I mean, he was gone all the time doing speaking opportunities. But what was also really fun is me and my brother got to go with him to his events, especially during the summer and if we were off school and stuff. So, I mean, we went to really fun places with him, like Orlando, and we'd get to go to Disney. We went to Washington, D.C., and got to tour a bunch of the museums, like Boston. And we went to Mackinac Island one time in Michigan, which was really awesome, California, all that. But there was also places like Farmington, New Mexico, and Abilene, Texas, where we literally sat in the hotel because there was nothing to do. So it was kind of like both, but it just depended on the organization and where it was going, because he worked with a lot of like energy plants and companies, and those are kind of when he actually had to tour the actual plants, they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was, he was busy, super busy after probably around 2000. And I still book him sometimes, even though he's pretty much retired now, so he only goes now if the price is right.
That makes a ton of sense. Oh my gosh. Okay, so much I want to get into there. Of like the, almost like the Jacksons of it all, of your whole
Yeah,
family getting together to kind of make sure that dad ends up in all of these places. How old was your brother, like in comparison to you? Younger brother, older brother?
we're twins. We're the same age. I'm a twin.
You're a twin.
Did not
Yep,
Wow.
my
know that.
twin brother Paul. Yeah, so Paul and Nona.
Paul and Winona. Okay, now that we're here, please give us the story of how we ended up being named Winona, which
Yeah,
obsessed.
I love it. Yes, I know. And I absolutely hated it. And I would get made fun of because whenever, you go into school the first of the year and they would say your real name when they were calling roll, because the teachers didn't know I went to a huge school, and they would be like, Winona. And it was Potter, Winona Potter. And I would be like, and then kids would start being like, Winona, ha ha ha, why Nona, why? Because everybody knew me as Nona. So that was always their name. Whenever they say, why, Nona, why? And I'm like, whatever. But now that I'm older, I love it because it's unique. And I also found the name origin, which I do have Native American in my family. Like my great grandpa was full blood Native American. My grandpa was half, and then down on. So it's the firstborn daughter is the meaning of Winona, but also Nona, just Nona, Nona, was my great grandma's name. So they kind of combined the two, Native American plus my great grandma's name. And so that's why everybody calls me Nona, because even though it's my nickname, that was also the name of my great grandmother. So people know me for that name. And I say someday, hopefully not anytime soon, when my daughter has kids, maybe I'll be Nona Nona.
I think you will be Nona Nona.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my grandma name. So yeah, Nona Nona.
Wow, I love that, and it's so interesting that I love the synergy also here, Nona, because I'm named after my grandmother also. My
Oh,
grandmother's
awesome.
named my grandmother. They thought that she was going to be a boy though. She was named Porter. And my
Oh,
mom and she her whole life hated having a boy's name. So my mom wanted to name me after her mom, but she wanted to name me something that was going to also be feminine. So she went and looked it up, and that's how I ended up being Portia.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, they actually thought I was a boy as well because I was right behind my brother. We were both 7.5 pounds each. My mom had it
Wow.
rough, and we were born on our due date. Yeah, so she was huge, and anyways, the whole story. My brother has some issues, and we were like, we were big babies, and I was behind him, so they couldn't tell my gender. And my mom just convinced herself she was having two boys, so we were going to be Justin and Dustin. So I came out and was like, "Surprise, you have a girl!" And so my dad named me, and my mom named my brother.
Okay. Well, so now we've got the family band. It's like the Brady's of speaking, and here we are, right? And so I'm
The
loving that
Brady's of speaking.
I'm seeing like the Brady Bunch, and everyone has a job. Like
Yes.
I'm loving this. Well, give me an idea of why you stayed with it. So I feel like, most of us, my parents had me doing something my whole life. I may or may not want to continue to do it into my adulthood. What was it about speakers and speaking that felt like something you wanted to continue at this point in your life?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I did kind of run away from the speaking industry right out of college because I was like, I want to do my own thing. I want to make my own name, whatever. I was dumb because which was it was fine. But I learned that I didn't want to work in corporate because I worked in corporate for 6 years and I
Mm.
hated every minute of it. And I knew I didn't want to work in corporate or for someone else anymore when I was on my way to, it was a hospital. I was a transplant rep. I worked at a transplant hospital. And I was on my way to work and I thought, if I just go, maybe I'll hurt myself enough to not have to go to work. And I thought, I think I need to change what I'm doing because that's not a healthy way to think of it. If you're literally fantasizing about hurting yourself so that you don't have to go to work, you're not on the right path. And so I called my dad, and this was after my daughter was born too. So I was already stressed with a newborn at that time as well. So, and I had to go back to work after 6 weeks because, USA maternity leave sucks. And yeah, so I was just stressed out and I called my dad and I was like, and he goes, well, you know what? My personal assistant actually just quit. And would you be open to working for me part time from home? You can stay home with the baby. And you can just work for me, help me plan my travel, like help me do my agreements for speaking and all of that. And I was like, yes, please. So I started off doing that. And then him and I created actually a speaker bureau for safety speakers. And we ran that for many years, really, really, it was doing really well. And then March of 2020 happened, and my dad decided to retire. And so that's when I decided to go away from the bureau model and start my own booking agency and speaker management. So that's how Speaker Elevation was born. Was I wanted to go out on my own because I thought the agency model is different than the bureau model and I like it better. Yeah.
The Ocean Body Learning Podcast is brought to you by two sponsors that are near and dear to our hearts because we built them. First up, Business Cousins. Business Cousins is a collective of call to serve leaders who are building businesses that create impact that actually matters. We're about doing real good in the world, giving people the results they paid for, and having a damn good time doing it. If you're into running a business that you actually love, hanging out with smart and soulful folks while you do it, and being supported every step of the way, this may be the room for you. We host gatherings, workshops, and offer ongoing business development support that's as human as it is helpful. If you're interested, Apply today at thebusinesscousin.com. Check us out at www.thebusinesscousin.com. And then there's the Author's Leverage. That's our studio for turning your body of work into powerful learning tools. Whether it's digital workbooks, private podcasts, or binge-worthy education content that helps you scale your impact without burning out, we specialize in transforming complex ideas into accessible, engaging learning experiences that your audience will actually use and implement. Our team of expert creators, instructional designers, and production specialists ensure that your wisdom reaches more people in the ways that truly resonate. If you're an expert, author, thought leader, sitting on brilliance, let us help you package it. Learn more at theauthorsleverage.com. That is theauthorsleverage.com. Love. And I was just hoping you actually would get, again, it's a master speaker. You have my questions right here. I'm so interested for those of us who are listening and for those of us listening who maybe are already paid speakers or who are interested in paid speaking or just speaking in general. What is the difference between a bureau, a booking agency, and even something like an NSA? Like, help us to kind of understand where those buckets land.
Yeah, so a bureau, they are good for people who are kind of already well known and maybe already established. They're not probably for people who are just trying to start out and break into an industry because they market the bureau as a whole. So, like, we marketed the Safety Institute as the Safety Institute, and we would and then people would call us and we would set them up with individuals with their speaker from there. But it was always like on one side. Some people got a lot more attention than other people did because they were more well known than some of the other people that we had. And so with my bureau agency is like we actually market each individual client to build up their leads. So all of the leads we find for them are individualized and particular to what their goals are and what audiences they want to speak to. And so all of our scripts are different for every single client versus the bureau where our script and calls were exactly the same for everyone, no matter what, because we were just trying to get phone calls back. But now we're actually individualizing, like when we call for, Portia and Parshell can do this, like we are only reaching out to your goals that you guys, gave us to actually reach out to because they are your perfect fit for where you want to speak and where you want to become that expert. So I feel like it's like individualized where we're really trying to build up your book of business through speaking. So it may not be your main moneymaker as a professional speaker, but you're trying to find more clients by speaking, by using it as an avenue, if that makes sense. So
that does. It so does. And for those of you all who are listening, as you can hear, Nona is our speaking agent. So all the time you go and see us speak, I promise you, it's Nona that's going to have booked the stage because we have not necessarily been able to do a lot of that even on our own. Well, Nona, and before we get too far kind of into those pieces, now for people who are thinking about like Toastmasters or NSA, how does that differ from a booking agent?
Yeah, they're both good organizations. They don't really help you find paid speaking engagements, but they teach you how to be on stage. They teach you how to rock it. They teach you um, how to do the business, but they don't do it for you. So like the bureau and agencies, like the agencies are a done for you service, whereas like National Speakers Association is a great place to go learn and also meet other speakers as well, because some speakers help each other. And then, of course, booking agents and bureaus go to those events as well. So you can meet them and get known in that organization. So they can help grow your business, but they don't do it for you. But it's a great learning experience to go to Toastmasters or NSA.
And thank you for helping us to break that down because I know people always ask me this, and I'm always like, there's a bit of a twofold, right? Actually, I would even call it a threefold when it comes to paid speaking. You got to know how to speak. You got to know what you're speaking on. Then you got to get booked gigs to be able to do the speaking. And then I would even add a fourth that you need to know what the speaking is going to provide for your business so that you see why you actually are using speaking as an access to grow your book of business, like Nona said, to grow who has access to you. So really quick while we're here, Nona, who do you feel like, what types of business owners typically make the best paid speakers? Because I also maybe, and that's also worth differentiating. Is like maybe before we even get into the who, let's get into the what. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between paid speaking and speaking for free and why you would do
Yeah,
either.
yeah, for sure. Well, in my book, it's called 24 Ways to Get Paid to Speak because there are many different avenues to get on stages and many different avenues on how that can grow your business. There's so many options. And I also have another chapter. I have one of my chapters is called the Speak Monthly Methodology because there's showcases and there's paid speaking engagements. There's, of course, volunteer spots and there's like podcasts, there's virtual, there's in person, there's conferences, there's small scale seminars. There's so many different things that when someone says I can speak to any and everyone, it's impossible to book people who think they can speak to any and everyone because they never become that particular individual known for that certain thing. But if you start to get known for a certain thing, like, oh, this person's an expert and she can talk on like I'm a judge in two upcoming speaker competitions, so I've kind of become known as a good judge to bring in. And like I've been on a couple of expert panels, and I really love to do those. So people bring me in for those, and honestly, I prefer those. Of like I'm not a keynoter, like, but I can do breakouts, workshops. I can do, so everyone has their particular things that they really prefer to do. And I always say go with what you are most passionate about and what you most like to do, and then it won't seem like too big of a hassle or a job, because if you hate keynoting and you keep getting booked to keynote, you're going to be miserable, and people are honestly going to see that on stage if you're not enjoying yourself. So there's lots of different ways to get known in the speaking industry to grow your business. And so it's just, you really need to narrow down what are your goals, where are your goals, what do you want to be known for, what events do you like the most, and really try the hardest to just get into that. And then if you are speaking for free as a showcase, I always tell people this little tip. Whenever you're doing your program agreement, like if you're like, they say we want you to volunteer your time, still put your speaker fee like $10,000 on the speaker, but just mark it out and say discounted for this particular industry. So that way, when that meeting professional refers you to someone else, they say, well, their speaker fee is $10,000. They gave us a discount, but that's what their speaker fee is. So that way you don't get caught in this, oh, their speaker fee is free. You don't want to be caught in that arena because people talk and they will say, oh, we got her for free. You don't want them to say that. So always be really adamant that you prefer paid speaking gigs. But if you want to give someone a deal because it's a good audience for you, just let them know that this is a special deal only for them. So that's kind of how you go around not getting caught into that accidental lower speaker fee.
I love that. And Nona, I think you did such a good job also of articulating for us, as anything else, we're always talking about this on the Ocean Body Learning podcast. Do what works for you.
Yeah.
Customize this thing to make sense for you. So if you're a panel
Yeah.
person, get on panels. If you're a keynote girl, get on keynotes. If you want to create experiences, it sounds to me like, the more that you know about what you'd be
Mhm.
great at, the easier it is to tell a person like Nona, hey, book me for these kinds of things because these are the
Yeah.
places where I shine, and maybe these are the places where I don't.
Exactly. Yep.
Love. Well, so going back to that original question, Nona, tell me, for a business, because I know quite a few, I imagine, of your speakers are business owners, and they may not have
Yeah.
speaking is not their, maybe not their professional full time gig. It just may be a part of their business. What kind of business owners do you think should really consider speaking as a part of growing their book of business?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot about your part of that question.
No, I
Yeah.
forgot. We're
So
gonna ask it again.
yeah, that works. So most of my speakers they're like I said, they're experts in a particular industry. So they're coaches, trainers, things like that. Just like my dad, he's an OSHA trainer, so he can do speeches and things. But honestly, he's known for his safety trainings. Like he has a book called 52 Weeks of Safety, and they go through his safety training. And then he has like videos and individual speeches that he comes in and does. And so, like, I have a client, Jerry Gennaria, like, he helps people with their high dollar marketing. Like, I'm not just talking about mom and pop shops, but like Coca-Cola, NASA, like some of his individual clients. So, like, he is looking for high dollar clients that pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, he uses speaking as an avenue to find ways to get in touch with those particular clients for his marketing firm. So, those are kind of the people that I that I usually reach. And then I have a couple of stand-up comedians. Like one guy wants to be, he wants to do stand-up comedy. Like that's his goal. So everyone has a different goal that I represent. And a lot of them are business owners or coaches that are looking for more high dollar clients that they can find. So the stages that we get them on are rich, like associations. We sell to associations a lot. We sell to SHRM, the Society of Human Resource Managers, because everyone in those audiences are representatives of a different company that hires speakers. So
Yeah.
never turn down an association or a SHRM event, never. Because those can really grow your business pretty quickly if they like you and if you do a good job while you're there.
There's a lane there. There's a lane there. And interestingly enough, when I think about business owners that I know that actively use speaking well, what it does, like you said, is open them up to a new audience, but often it is
Mhm.
opening them up to a new audience of audience leaders, right?
Yes.
You're sitting in a room full of community leaders that represent each of their own communities that happen to be in a room, and then you're going out amongst their communities. And like you said, they have people who may hire you for speaking, but they may also hire you for consulting. They may also hire you for leadership. They may also
Yes.
refer you for your done with you and done for you services, particularly for folks who have an asset like a book or like something of
Mhm.
that nature. Speaking is so, so good for Pressure. I'd love to hear your thoughts as somebody who's represented so many authors, how you feel like authors use speaking to be able to open the doors for them for
Yeah.
more opportunities in general.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, the speaking is also like to me a bit of like a taste tester of what it is that you have to offer, and it's in kind of a bite-sized format. And that experience, of course, as we mentioned before in this conversation, it leads to the consulting on the back end. And so for me, I feel like, and in my experience too, as authors, in working with them, there is this desire to speak, but it's just part of their journey, right? It's part of their offer journey, if you will.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like the book helps you to get on stages,
Yes,
and
it
then once
does.
you're in stages, you're now have a foot in the door for opportunities to continue relationships with either someone in the audience, or if you came and spoke to that specific organization, right now you have the opportunity to offer more of a high ticket. So I find that speaking is really just that really fun and interesting, cog in the middle that really ties a lot together in that respect. And so I'm definitely seeing it as a big part of an extension for authors. And not everybody
Mhm.
wants to be on the stage either. And so it is interesting to kind of, ideate what kind of other opportunities, let's say, fit for a person who maybe doesn't want to be on the stage. Oftentimes, something like even a podcast is important. And I think
Yeah.
it's really about being in conversation about your area of expertise.
Yeah, and you are seen as an expert by having a book. So a lot of times people say, "Do I have to have a book?" And I'm like, "You don't have to, but you do need to be an author of some sort because people just really hire speakers that are also authors if you can claim both of those." And it maybe not even have to be a book, but even if you have a chapter in a book with several authors, or if you get, you can, there's people who can push your articles out to certain magazines in particular industries. Like my dad's a regular contributor into Power Lineman magazine, like, which is linemen actually do read that book or read that magazine, So there's different ways to become authors, but books are obviously like you are seen as the expert. You obviously know the subject as you've written an entire book about it. And so you're more higher qualified. You can also ask for that bigger paycheck if you are an author. And then plus, whenever you're going to negotiate like your fees, you can also sell books like, oh, you're going to have 200 in attendance in this. We can give you a deal because like it costs me like $2.50 each book, but I sell them for $10 each, but they retail for like $16.99. So like I'm giving them a deal by doing $10. I get to make a little extra by that book sale, and I also do that for all of my clients as well. So I try to sell their books on top of their speaker fee to make them a little extra money in that way too.
Man, and I think there's game here that both of you all have been kind of naming, because I think that sometimes I'm always wanting authors and folks who are experts to think about the business of expertise, right? So if you are going to build a business around your expertise, being an author is a great lane for that. If you
Yeah.
enjoy public speaking on a large scale, big stages, small stages, podcast stages, situations, I go live every week. I get the opportunity every single week to share my expertise, and it just is me, I don't even have pants dance on sometimes, just on the Instagram, getting a chance to be able to share some of those pieces. I
Yep.
think that, for traditional authors, oftentimes feel like they have to be a New York Times bestseller to be able to make a living around their expertise. And the truth is, each of these
Yeah.
different pathways create a landscape of, financial security that could be in place if you leverage your expertise in those ways. So those of you all, who've been wondering, like, is a book in me? If you know that this is something that you may be interested in, it could be a good asset to consider. But it also doesn't have to exactly be a book. It could also be a variety of different assets, which we'll get into in a little bit. But before we
Yeah.
take that left, I would love to know from you, Nona, just really quick as we round us down, what are some of the things about getting yourself booked? Because we know we have quite a few speakers that are on this call that are trying to book themselves
Yeah.
and are on the struggle bus. So, what are some of the things that
Yeah.
you could tell someone about getting themselves booked as a paid speaker that you wish you would have known when you started, or that you
Oh,
always
yeah.
tell all your clients?
For sure. I think that especially when people start getting more bookings, they forget that they're there to serve that individual or that audience that they're coming into. And a lot of them will get a big head and become a diva. And that drives me absolutely nuts. I hate when it's like I have to remind them, you're not here for yourself. Like, this is not an opportunity for you to star on the stage. You're actually there for a purpose, to serve the audience and make that meeting planner look really good, because they brought you in, and that's going to make them look good. And if you make them look good, they're obviously going to refer you to other people. And the speaking industry is all about relationships and who you know. So all about referrals. And that's how you get known in these industries. And if someone doesn't like working with you because if you're being difficult, they're not going to bring you back. And I've seen a lot of speaking careers come to a halt because they did something or said something that was just out of line to the meeting professional or whatever. So you have to work with that person and make them shine. My dad one time went to this event, and it was like the mayor or governor came up and spoke in front of him, and he was only supposed to go for like 30 minutes. The guy ended up going for like an hour and a half. And so it cut into my dad's time, and he was supposed to be the main keynoter. And so that meeting professional came up to him and said, well, that went a lot longer. I'm sorry. Now you're backed up right before lunch, so people are getting antsy. I just need you to do 10 minutes. Is that possible? And he was supposed to have like an entire hour. And he was like, you know what? I'll do even better. I'll do 7. And he went up there. He did 7 minutes exact. He got a standing ovation. People were so happy. And they brought him back the next year because he was so willing to work with them and get that meeting professionals or their plan back on the right track, because that really threw things off. So he was able to save the time because the meeting professional was like, great, now we're going to be like way over and people are going to hate it. And my, everything's going to be out of whack. The schedule's not going to work anymore. So like, be flexible, and also just remember you're there for them. Like, if they put you in a hotel room or if they book you a flight, so because sometimes they pay for it, and then you require first class, upgrade yourself. Don't say anything to that person. Don't be that person. Come on. And you would be amazed how many people are that person.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they don't get asked back. And I'm like, I don't know, because you weren't a joy to work with. So always try to be a joy to work with, and always try to be as helpful as possible. Like, if they need volunteers to put up chairs after your talk, start putting up those chairs. Like, you are not above anybody else. Remember that.
Oh,
And
I
that will get you asked back time and time again. Yeah.
Oh, I love real quick there, Nona, but we have to play in there. Man, I tell you, the amount of times that I have to tell people, be a joy. And I also heard behind what it was that you said, that every time you are booked to be a speaker, you are now an adjunct part of the faculty. You are
Yes,
now you are
you
now a
are.
contracted team member. And
Yep,
the success of this entire event is slightly reflected also by you. And if you treat it
absolutely.
that way, and you treat it like you're a part of the team, I can hear what you're saying, that more people will want you to be a part of their team. Maybe not just
Yep.
because you're a great speaker, but because you're a freaking joy.
Exactly. And I have seen one of my clients, Gary, he does de-escalation training. So he was hired by a construction company, come in and do the de-escalation training. Well, they have It's a big construction company, kind of well-known name. And, so they have different plants all over the place and different headquarters all over the United States. So they liked him so much when he went to Indiana that they sent him to California because they referred him. They sent him to Oregon after that. And then they sent him to like Colorado. So he did like this round with this company because they liked him so much, because he was so nice and so helpful, plus a good speaker as well. And then he ended up being their keynoter. And then this other guy, we had a bad experience because he was such a diva. Even though I called and I asked, hey, how did it go after you were there? Or after the event, how did it go? He said, oh, the audience loved him. And I said, oh, great. So next year. And he goes, no, let me stop you right there. He demanded we upgrade his hotel. He didn't want to pay for Uber. So he demanded me to drive him back and forth everywhere. He demanded, all these things before he went on stage. And then he immediately left and right after his talk, and he didn't stay and meet people. So it's not, but on stage, he rocked it and shined it, and all the audience absolutely loved him. But the problem is off stage, he did not come across well. So therefore they didn't want to hire him again. And it not only burned a bridge for me, it burned a bridge for himself and any future speakers who wanted to go in that event, because they did not have a good experience, even though he was good on stage. So it's not just enough to be good on stage. Not at
That
all.
is such a magic. That is a magic. You're a speaker, not necessarily a celebrity. And things to
Yeah.
consider is that the audience isn't purchasing your speaking fee.
No.
And I would even say, because one of the things I always hear people do, also as a person who's been behind the room at a lot of events, the behind the room people are the inner advocates. They are the people who are actually advocating for one person or another. And
Yes.
I've noticed a lot of speakers will come into an event and they will look to the person who's leading the event. Like, let's say you're at the Rachel Rodgers event. You're trying to get close to Rachel because in your head, Rachel is the one making the decision about who's on the stage. But I can tell you right now, there's an event producer that's actually making those decisions. That person
Exactly.
with the mic that you're yelling at, that they're not getting you enough oranges or whatever that looks like, is the person who is deciding how much you get paid,
Yep.
where the hotel is, all of those pieces.
100%.
So it's important for speakers to also be participant. And I also heard kind of also in what you said, Nona, something that I think is really magical. I've always heard people talk really well about speakers who stay around and participate and
Yes.
actively support other speakers and come down and kind of ask questions afterwards. So are there any tips that you have about how to be in the space once you're
Yeah.
done or even before you speak?
Yeah. So I always tell all of my clients, I say, if you work with me, I'm going to ask one thing of you. And the one thing I really ask is, do not come in, do your talk, and then leave. If there's a networking breakfast, I want you there at the networking breakfast. If there's a lunch that they invite you to, or you need to go and talk to everyone at that lunch. If there's like, you don't have to stay for like, if it's a 3-day conference, you don't have to stay all 3 days. But the day that you're speaking, you need to be present from the beginning to the end, because that's how you make a really good impression. If they see you run in, do your talk, and run out, they don't perceive that you're a priority for them at all. And so they're a priority for you. I said that backwards. Yeah. So you want them to know you are a priority for them. They're audience members that you can network with and stuff. I mean, you need to be there. You're leaving money on the table when you come in and leave, because that's where you meet other people who could hire you, or they may know someone who can hire you. So you're leaving so much money on the table when you come in, speak, and then immediately leave. You just at least need to be there for, if it's 8 to 5, you need to be there 8 to 5. That's just how it is.
Love, love, love. And I know because we get a chance to play together that quite a few of some of these tips and other things are in, the asset that you are creating currently and like actively coming out. I know that we can find so much information in your 24 Ways books. Tell us about kind of ways that we can learn from you about how to be better at booking paid speaking these days.
Yes, I am so excited that I am just getting ready to launch my new digital workbook, so that, because I get a lot of consulting requests, but it's impossible to like consult with 60 people every month and still be
One
able to
Nona,
do all of my other jobs
only one Nona.
and still have a personal life. So thank goodness I've made it digital so that people can actually go through the digital workbook. And my goal is they will be completely set up for success, know exactly what to do. And then because they will realize there's a lot that goes into the background of speaking, like a lot of people say, that person probably made one phone call and got up on that stage. That is so not the truth. They probably called for years. They probably followed up. They probably sent them a lot of stuff in the mail. They probably, it was not an easy thing to get up on that stage. And so my goal with this workbook is to set everybody up so they know how to do it. And then at the end, if they don't want to do it for themselves, they know where to find someone who can help them. But, they at least they have the knowledge and the ability to do it themselves, so they're not coming in blind. So that's why I prefer they do the workbook over individual consulting, because it saves me time and they get the same information, thank goodness. So then I can really help once they get their assets actually in order. Then we can actually help them grow their business by actually implementing the things that they learned.
And I love so much as that workbook is getting completed that there are so many places for you to grow your assets. It literally, it's Nona going, you need one of these, you need one of these, this is what this does, this is how this works. So that way, by the time you need to sit in front of a booking agent, you actually have everything that's ready for you to quickly be able to get, easily pitched, easily shared with community. And Parshal, I'm interested in the parts that you're really interested in regards to creating this project, because I know you've been super excited about it for months as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I just love the fact that basically in completing this process with Nona and completing the workbook, you'll be ready for representation. Whether it's you representing yourself or you're ready to just jump right into Nona and her beautiful process to start to get booked yourself. But this work that's in the workbook, it's really, really beautiful. Nona definitely, as you can kind of see of her vibe, she's just giving you the real and keeping it cool. Like, it's so direct, and it's everything that you need to really get set up. And so I'm really, really excited for this tool and for it to be in the hands of more authors, more experts, just period. It's so foundational that, with it complete, you'll be, gains ahead, right, as it relates to this process and being that much closer to speaking, because you still have to do all these things.
Hello?
Anyway, so yeah, I'm so excited, and I think that everyone will definitely love and appreciate Nona's vibe, right? As you kind of catch it today, it is spread all throughout the workbook with lots of good tips.
Man, oh man. And last thing I will say, Nona, before we tell the people how we can find out about you, y'all come and listen a little bit closer. If you are a business owner, if you are a business owner who knows that leveraging speaking is your work to do, some of y'all, it ain't your work to do. You can tone out at this point. That's all right. For those of us who know that it is your work to do, and you have a full-time gig in your own business, actively have your own offers, actively have your own clients, have other things that need to get done, having someone sit in front of you and steward the speaking gigs is the move. I have to just say, I have loved so much working with Nona because it has been almost effortless. Like, we put the things together that are needed to do. We are in fantastic hands, and it allows me to know that there is something happening on my behalf, that I am not the one that has to be causing the matter, or my team has to brand new learn a whole new skill set. So I would say, if you know that you've got a team that wants to learn this skill set, and you know that you want to kind of mentally prepare yourself for it, Nona has created so many assets, the book, the workbook, for you to be able to wrap your brain around the concepts of paid speaking. But if you can pay for it, babe, pay for it. Because, man, it's worth doing. It's like the difference between washing your car and having somebody wash it. You could. You could wash it. You could. It's hot outside. Or you could have it professionally done. And there is a different feel when things are professionally done. And I think that so many of us, it's like paid speaking is like PR. We feel like we have to get to a certain level of business, and we're terrified to pay someone to do some of these things on our behalf, because there's been a lot of oftentimes people who are not trustworthy in that space. I trust Nona, and I would suggest that you do as well.
Thank you.
Truly and truly. And thank you for being in our corner, Nona, because I mean, it's like something that was such a dark space for us for a long time. And then everyone would come up to us and be like, you guys should be speaking. You guys should be speaking. I'm like, who got time for that? I'm like, you're going to run my business? You're going to be talking to my clients while I figure out what speaking looks like. And it's been such a gift, again, to be working in partnership with you. And so I know more people are going to be wanting to find your books. They're going to be wanting to find you. So where is the best place that they can find you and get support from you if they know that this conversation is for them?
Yeah, for sure. So I would love to speak to anyone. I have discovery calls all the time because I love to meet any and everyone. everyone has a story and I love stories. So yeah, meet with anyone at any time if they just email me, nona@speakerelevation.com. But then also my 24 Ways to Get Paid to Speak is available on Amazon, and it's Audible or hard copy either way. And there's some examples of one sheets if you get the hard copy, so you miss out on that with the Audible, but it's more affordable that way. And of course, hopefully when my worksheet comes out, we'll start marketing those and hopefully help a lot of people using that avenue as well. So yeah, but I love meeting new people. So anyone who wants to have a conversation, even if they want to just learn about the speaking industry, or if they want to talk about how we can help them and how our process works, I'm welcome to talk about that as well.
Love. And I know by the time this comes out, you will likely have digital workbook in hand. So Nona, tell us what your website is where folks could be able to come and find out more.
Yep, exactly. Speakerelevation.com. So
Love.
yeah. Hopefully that's easily rememberable. Yeah.
We will put it in the show notes also for y'all. We will put links to all the things because we want you to have this. Thank you so much, Nona, for coming on and blessing us with your knowledge. And thank you for being our speaking agent and our person in our corner that's helping to get the work that we do out in the world to more people. It matters a ton that you've chosen to, align in partnership with us in this way. And it's such a blessing. So thank you for who you are and what you do.
Yep. And you guys are great. I love to represent women. I love to represent minorities. I love to represent people who I can tell really care and want to make a difference in the world. So those are the people that I really love to represent. So you guys fit right in. I love it.
And we love you. And we love y'all. Thank you so much for listening.
All the love.
Yay.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider what was shared today. Thanks to our guests for sharing. Thank you to Parshell for holding us in this container. And thank you for listening. We hope that something that was shared today sparks a new idea, inspires a new action, or creates something that you're excited to share with your community.
And thanks to Portia for leading this wonderful conversation and for bringing the vibe. Make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and hit us up on LinkedIn or Instagram. We want to hear what this sparks for you. So do us a favor, drop a review or leave a comment with what you thought.
All right, friends. We will see you next time on the Ocean Mari Learning Podcast. I'm already looking forward to it.
Me too.